I'm nervous. I hope I don't suck. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a speedy tour of my shop because I just spent 40 minutes giving a tour to nobody. So I'm probably gonna delete that live stream. This one's the real one. And it's horizontal, it's supposed to be vertical, but we're gonna roll with that. First live stream. Super nervous. You guys nervous too? Don't be nervous. You got this. So I'm gonna briefly I'm gonna go back to my selfie stick here and just talk to you guys. So let's get real for a minute. Let's talk about my shop setup. So up here, I have my storage area above my garage door. And that is for storing anything I don't want you guys to see, essentially, and things I need to get up off the floor. Limited amount of space. Actually, let's go back to the beginning. This is my full shop tour from the beginning. So here's the door where I walk out into my shop. And as you can see, it is legit a garage. Crap everywhere. Every inch of wall space is being utilized. And then over here, there's a car. Shocking. Car in a garage. And then I have all of my yard equipment over here. And yeah, pretty standard stuff here. Kids' toys, if you have a kid, you know what I'm talking about. The dust curtain, infamous dust curtain. Dust curtain does a few things. Number one, it prevents the dust from getting from this side to some extent. Number two, I found that my audio actually sounds better when the dust curtain is up. So that's pretty cool. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I can see your questions if you have any. So that's pretty cool. The other thing it does is it hides all this crap, because when you guys are watching my videos, who the heck wants to see all that crap? Nobody does. So I already covered my storage up here. And then I'm gonna walk around and cover this stuff. Just like I did before, I'm gonna have to delete that other live feed because it was stupid. Like I say, I guess it was practice. But, so number one, my hand plane storage area. I don't use my hand planes much, but these are very, very special to me. And the reason they are is because these were both from my great-grandpas on separate sides of the family. So this one here was from, I think, my mom's side. And this one here was from my dad's side. And this one I actually made a video restoring. It was in very rough shape. It's much better now, but still much better than it was. This is my folding workbench. So when I've overwhelmed my normal workbench and my table saw surface, I will go to that. Occasionally you will see me use it. But I mostly use it for my miter saw when I'm doing a lot of miter saw work. Then we're moving on. So I have a lot of rigid tools still, but ultimately I'm not that big of a fan of rigid anymore, and I think that just from using them, I've kind of decided that there's better things. So I have started to move some of my stuff over to Milwaukee. I've been a pretty big fan of Milwaukee. I did have some issues with the charger when I first got it, where I would drop something on the charger and the charger would start right away, but I've noticed like the more I've used it, the more that hasn't been an issue. So yeah, hasn't really been an issue anymore. So now I'm actually a big fan, and I've even picked up some Milwaukee yard tools since then. Hey, everybody that's just joining the chat. I see that, or the video, the live stream. I see there's a few of you now, and if anybody has any questions, please ask them. I'm still learning, so hopefully the messages or chat should pop up if you have any questions. If anybody wants to test it and drop something, that'd be great, so I understand what it looks like. Hopefully that's working. Because I don't want to be talking completely to myself. The only comment so far is I'm nervous. I hope I don't suck. Well, let's be honest. I'm gonna suck. But the question is, do you like this version of suck? All right. So then the next thing I want to talk about here are my nailers, and you guys have probably seen several of these. Actually, all of these probably in my videos. The one you might notice the most is my Milwaukee. I recently got that for a project for my shiplap island. And I just meant to buy it because I just wanted a nice nailer. And I was sick and tired of my pancake air compressor kicking on and off, and I didn't want to deal with that big hose. So I figured I'd give it a shot and see what I thought. I want to see what all the hype was about with the electric nailers. And honestly, I fell in love with that thing. It didn't misfire a single time, except for when I hit some nail plates, and that wasn't really misfire. That was just it mushrooming on the steel that was protecting the wire. So it's been amazing. I mean, it just fires super fast. The battery lasts super long. It's quiet. It's easy to use. The only disadvantage I'd say is that it's heavy. It's a lot heavier than a standard nailer, but you don't have to deal with the hose. So, and you have to move the pancake air compressor around. So if you factor that in, maybe not so much. So over here, I just have some magnetic tool storage. It's nice because you can kind of move things around a little bit. You don't have to always have the exact same things in the same place. You can kind of keep adjusting it, getting it how you want. Hey, everybody that's just joining. Drop me a comment and say hi. And then over here, I have my drills. So, yeah, the drills, one of these is brushless and one of them is not. And I'm not super fond of my rigid stuff, but strangely, I kind of like my brushed version better than my brushless. And that's because this one just seems like it's got more power. It sounds weird, but the brushless, I don't know, it's quiet and it's smoother, but like it just doesn't seem to have the power. It'll kind of just cut out sometimes. So I tend to just go to the brushed version more often. That's hard. Why is that so hard to say? The brushless, can you guys hear me, by the way? Is my audio working? I'm going to have to just assume it is. I don't see any of your comments if you're commenting. Yeah. Anyway, so the nice thing about my brushless version though is that it has a hammer drill option, which I actually use a lot. Over here, I have what every good shop needs, a catch-all. And that catches everything I don't have a room or have a spot specifically for yet. So eventually I will, but I don't have that yet. So over here, I have my Narex chisels. As you guys know, I don't use chisels that much, but when I do, these are very, very nice chisels. They actually came pretty damn sharp right out of the box. And they haven't really needed a whole lot of sharpening for most things, even when I work with walnut. So, yeah, I mean, I use them for some things, like when I'm making little slots and stuff. I don't do dovetails or anything yet. I'm kind of still learning how to make things like that. So, you know, when I make videos, I usually start out by doing a ton of research. And a lot of times when I make a video on a topic, it's because I want to learn about that topic. So it's not always because I'm the expert. I never admit to be the expert of anything, but I like to make sure that I'm providing accurate information when I make videos. So I put a lot of work into researching things just to make sure that whatever I tell you guys is accurate and correct. So yeah, I hold myself to that. Yeah, hopefully if the comments are not working, even though they should be, I will get back to the comments later and respond to them. I apologize. I don't see comments popping up. My jigsaw. Okay, so although I'm not much of a rigid guy, I actually do really like my jigsaw, except sometimes the plate on the bottom will accidentally move a little bit and you end up getting a unexpected bevel cut. So other than that, it's been very good. If there's a way I can just lock that thing out, it has a lock, but it doesn't really hold very tight. If there's a way I can figure out how to lock that thing out so it just stays flat, that'd be great, because I never need to make bevels with it. So other than that, it's been pretty good, actually. My workbench. This is the famous folding workbench. I don't see a lot of people doing this. Again, it's because I need to park my car in here. As you can see, there's a real car outside there that has to come back in. It's like, please let me back in the garage. It has to come back in when I'm all done. So this stuff has to fold up. And those are the little folding hinges under there. They're actually really strong. I can sit on this thing. It can take a lot of abuse. I have broken these hinges before and replaced them, but that was back when I was using this also as my planer stand, which I don't do anymore. So now I have a dedicated planer stand and it has rollers. So I can roll it out in the middle when I'm ready to use it and then tuck it back in the corner when I can't use it. And it's super dirty, so just don't look at it. Pretend like it's super clean, and I'm one of those people that's a neat freak, like you see on the rest of YouTube, but I'm not. I want to be a neat freak, but I'm just not. I'm just too busy. I feel like I never have time to do anything. Can anybody else say that they feel that way too? I'd really like to know if my live chat's working. So if anybody could comment, that'd be great. I just need to know it's working. Can even just say, hey, what's up? How's it going? Anyway, this is my area where I have my hand saws. I have a coping saw up there, which I don't use too much, but every now and then. I have a pull saw and just like a saw for doing like, finer stuff like cutting off dowels and that sort of thing. It's not a flush cut. This is actually better for that, but in some cases, if it's near an edge, that's a good saw. I like to use these just for making quick cuts too when I don't want to like kick up a lot of dust. If my wife's car is in the garage on the other side and I don't want to like, dust up the garage with my miter saw or even get that big thing out, sometimes I'll just use one of those. Like a quick cut. In fact, I can use those while my car is still in the garage. Just literally crawl around on the floor like a caveman and just make a cut if I need to. This is my wall of clamps. You can't have too many clamps, right? So this is my storage area for clamps. But I honestly need more clamps. So I got to figure out where I can put them. I have a limited amount of space in here. There's my little shop sign. I actually made a video on that. Nobody watched it, but that's fine. CA glue, very useful in the workshop. I did do a sponsored video for Starbond at one point, which is why all my stuff is Starbond. However, I do really like the Starbond stuff because they have a lot of options. They have the accelerator, which makes your glue dry almost instantly. Black, medium, brown, medium, thick clear, medium clear, and thin clear. I rarely use the thin because it goes everywhere. The thick is pretty thick. The medium is the sweet spot for sure on that. But what's great is that the medium also comes in black and brown if you're trying to fill like a knot or something and you don't want it to be super like glossy or weird. So the black and medium are really nice. In fact, I've even used the black before to fill like, I cut a lightning bolt in like a workbench one time, in my office desk. And I used the black to fill like a little lightning bolt where the inductive charger was, so I know where it was. And that was really cool because I didn't have to use like epoxy and mix anything up. I just dropped a little bit of that in there, a little bit of the accelerator, sanded it, and it still looks really nice. And I did that like back in 2021. So it turned out really good. I use that every day. Over here, I have my wood storage, more wood storage. So this is like big sheets of plywood and stuff over here. And this is like supposed to be, this is my scrap wood storage area. And this is the overflow area that looks less messy that I try not to get on camera for you guys because it looks like crap. But when I have this much overflow, it means it's time to go through that so I have room. But sometimes I have bigger pieces that don't really fit in. They shouldn't go up here, but they also really don't belong up here. So they should go here, but they're too long, so they end up going down here. So that's what this one is. I know it's just a 2x4, but it's shocking how useful 2x4s can be in your workshop just for whatever. You can use them to clamp things up. You can use them to make cuts on when you're crawling around the floor like a caveman, whatever. So yeah, this is my main storage area. This is what you guys usually see on camera. And it's got a lot of nice stuff on there. I got a lot of white oak. I've got a lot of walnut. I got some maple, hard maple on there. a lot of it's rough sun. I try not to process my wood and plane it or anything until I'm ready to use it, because otherwise it's just gonna move again. So there's really no point in doing that. Dust extraction. So in my shop, so my original point when I started setting up my shop was just to try and cut down on dust so I could do projects and not make a big mess. My wife was complaining about the dust everywhere. So my goal was to cut it down as much as possible. So I started off by adding this little dust or air scrubber. And as you can see, the filter is very, very dirty. It needs to be cleaned. I'm actually embarrassed to show you that. Collection on some of my stuff. I added a dust hose on my planer that goes to a bag. And honestly, disregard the amount of dust that's actually on it right now. But like this setup on the DeWalt 735 planer is actually really good. It collects a lot of dust. It's actually impressive. I mean, how little dust this thing actually makes, considering the fact that it doesn't have like any vacuum attached to it or anything. It doesn't really need it because it's got its own like vacuum or at least blower motor inside of it. But for situations where I'm using a tool that doesn't have that, I have this little DeWalt dust extractor, and it's actually pretty awesome. It's like a super high performance vacuum, shop vac. Think of it that way. Almost fell over. Anyway, and it almost fell over again. Need more coffee. Anyway, but it's great because it's got two filters on the inside, and it's constantly cycling through the two filters to clean the other filter out. So like you never run into a situation where you would with a normal shaft vac where it's getting clogged. So it works out really nice. And I even use it on my table saw, and it does fill up pretty quick. So you have to empty the bags every now and then, but it's not that bad. I mean, I would say I use my table saw, like I can use that thing like what feels like all day, and I don't fill it up that fast. So it works really well. Oh, my miter saw. Trying to remember what I talked about in the previous live stream I'm going to delete on this one. So my miter saw. So this is one of the first tools that I bought when I started woodworking to try to up my game. So I just went to Lowe's and bought the biggest miter saw they had, because I thought I was going to be cutting like beams and stuff. I've never cut beams with this thing. So this is like a 12-inch, I think, miter saw, and it's way too big. Frankly, what I need is like a nice, smaller, higher end miter saw, and I'm going to get one of those eventually. I'm not sure which one yet. If anybody has an idea of which one they like, please drop it in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts, because I'm in the market. Over here, so yeah, this thing, frankly, this thing sucks. It's just kind of low quality. It's big, and it's been reliable. I just don't really like it. Over here, this is the exciting part. Feather boards. See, one I was missing because I was talking about my previous live stream. But this is just like safety stuff for my table saw, and you can also use these feather boards for the my Bosch router table. UJK miter gauge. If you don't have a miter gauge for table saw, you really need one. The one that comes with the DeWalt DWE is garbage. I'd recommend you immediately throwing that away, buying something better. Safety gear. This is one of those situations where you do as I say, not what I do. Don't hang these up in your shop like an idiot like me. Put these in a cabinet or something so that you're not getting dust on the filters all the time. These filters need to be replaced as a result. Like they have paint on them and everything. I can barely breathe when I wear it right now. This is huge for me. This is my hearing protection. It's important to have comfortable safety gear, because if it's not comfortable, you're not going to wear it, right? So these are very comfortable. They were cheap. I think the company's like yeah. This is the brand. Oh, you can't read that. It's backwards. MPOW. But they also have Bluetooth, so you can listen to music while you're working. So you'll catch me a lot of times wearing these, even when I don't really need hearing protection. So again, this area, I feel like I could make this look better. And I need to be better, and I need to figure that out. Underneath here, I have a couple things. This is not how you're supposed to store things. But when you're really busy making videos, sometimes shop organization and cleanliness Goes out the window a little bit. But this is my mini crosscut sled, and this thing is super, super nice because it can make, it's good for working with little pieces. It only uses one miter slot, which is kind of nice. I got some of that UHMW plastic on the bottom, so it's super slippery. But it also has this side, which you can use for cutting bevels, which is really nice. And then up here, I also have some planer sleds under there. If you guys don't know what a planer sled is, when you're trying to mill down rough sawn lumber, you can't just run it through the planer, because if you do, you're going to end up with a parallel surface to the other side because it will just conform. So you'll end up with a board that's still not flat, but it is but it is perpendicular or parallel to the other side. So the thickness will be consistent, but it still won't be flat. So the planer sled is nice because you put, I'd have to give you an example. I have a big planer sled up there, which I usually use for rough sawn lumber. But you put your board on the planer sled, and then you shim it so that it doesn't move, and then you run it through your planer and make that one side flat, and then you flip it over, run it through the planer again to make it parallel and get a consistent thickness. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to have a flat board. And I don't have the right tools to mill lumber, so I have to do it with a combination of my tapering jig, which I have plans for if you're interested, my table saw, and my planer. But it works, and I don't do it that often, so when I do it, not a big deal. I have an air compressor over here. I use it for some things, not as much now that I have my electric brad nailer. I probably could go to a smaller air compressor and save some space. That's a good idea. Air hose. I have some extra cabinets over here, right? I'm not gonna open this because it's really messy in there, but like I put my Mercadero sander in there, and I even use the area on top up here. That is, I think, my track saw up there. Actually that's my circular saw. My track saw goes down here. This is like an auxiliary workbench for more crap. I have like 4 or 5 workbenches in my house. It's kind of ridiculous. This is where I keep some of my table saw accessories, and I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I recently bought a 3D printer, and I've been making a lot of tools with it, which is awesome. So I'm going to start getting more organized, hopefully, with my 3D printer, as well as start making some more tools. And I think that'd make a really cool video. Let me know if you guys think it would. Drop it in the comments if you do, and I will make that video. Here's my my Bosch router table over there, which, as you can see, doesn't get used much, which is why it's buried amongst a bunch of yard equipment. All right, so last but not least is my DeWalt table saw. If you've ever watched any of my videos, which I'm guessing you have because you're watching this one, this is sort of the star of the show. And one of the things that really got my channel going was this thing right here. This is my folding outfeed table. And that sort of makes everything possible in my shop, because honestly, if you don't have an outfeed table on your table saw, you gotta have one. It makes your cuts safer, easier, better. And this thing works great because it's supporting my workpiece, but also doesn't get in the way when I don't need it. And I still have access to my dust port down there. So it's pretty awesome. But then I actually added the folding in-feed table to complement that. And that's pretty awesome as well. So if you don't have those, highly recommend those. Also, zero clearance insert. If you don't have one of these, I'd recommend making one. I might actually try and 3D print one of these. Just for kicks, that might be fun. And then, one of my absolute favorite upgrades for your DeWalt table saw that makes many, many, many more things possible is my TSO upgrade rip vents. So I'm going to fold this back down. So I can talk about this. I'm back on my tripod now, so I don't make you guys too sick. There we go. This right here, get some light over here for you. I'm always moving these lights around to give you guys the best possible lighting. I got added lighting up here too. So this is the TSO upgrade rip vents. And what's nice about this thing is it's really easy to install. It's not too expensive. And it has three, it's a little taller as well. And it has 3 T-tracks in it. And as you can see, it allows you to mount all sorts of things to it. So you don't lose any of the functionality of your saw, but you gain a lot. So you can attach things to the top, you can attach things here or here. These are the Jessam stock guides, which are really nice because they allow the wheel to turn in one direction, but not the other direction. So basically allows you to feed forward, but doesn't allow the saw to kick it back at you. So if you don't want to get hit with a board, that's a nice feature. The other cool thing is they are actually angled just a little bit, and I can show you this. So as you're making your cut, let's get in there. They're angled a little bit. Can't quite see. They're angled a little bit this way. So as you're making your cut, they're pushing the wood towards the fence. So it's holding the wood down to the table and towards the fence. So those are pretty awesome. I really, really like those stock guides. Those aren't the cheapest accessory of all these, but they're nice. This is the Mini Hedgehog featherboard, and this is actually really nice too. It does a similar thing to this. It holds it down, it holds your workpiece down to the table really well. It doesn't hold it against the fence, but I mean, these are way, way, way cheaper. So sometimes I'll just use these, but frankly, I keep the Jessam stock guides on there most of the time because I have them. I am a TSO affiliate, but I mean, I can tell you that all the things that I've gotten from TSO have been awesome. So like, I'm gonna be frank, I had never heard of TSO until I made my first video with their product. And actually, I'll show you which product it was, and I was blown away. So a lot of TSO, if you don't know this, TSO is out of Minnesota, and a lot of their stuff is actually assembled and manufactured in the United States. So this is the TSO, it's a track saw guide for my Makita track saw, which I didn't talk about, but it's really great because you just clamp this thing onto the track and you can make like perfect perpendicular cuts like nobody's business. And this is what it's called if you're interested. It's backwards, sorry. I don't know if there's a way I can fix that. Maybe I'll try. But it's really great. It's all made from billet aluminum, anodized blue. It's beautiful. And all their stuff is like that. Almost all of it is manufactured and assembled in the United States, which is honestly rare these days. Most tools you buy are made in China, frankly. But the stuff that's made by TSO is nuts. It's high quality, it's super accurate, they have great customer support. I can't say enough about TSO. I'm so glad I found them for multiple reasons. So you'll see a lot of TSO stuff in my shop. You're gonna see more and more. There's my TSO Ultimate dog pack. So like, as I didn't talk about my dog holes, but I think my next video is gonna be about dog holes. But dog holes are amazing if you don't have them in your workbench. So this is a bench dog, and you can just drop that thing in there, and then you can just bump your workpiece up against it. Boom, it holds your workpiece. You can do 2 of them. There's a different size one. And you could bump, a work here. Let me grab an actual board. And boom, just like that. So like, there's other types of clamps and things too, so you can hold things down better. But dog holes are really cool. So if you guys haven't experienced dog holes, I have a video on that if you want to watch it. And I think my next video will be more about dog hole accessories and, more about dog hole accessories and how to use dog holes. So with that, that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any comments, be sure to drop them and I'll try to get back to you on them. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing any now. Either you're not leaving me any comments or I'm not able to see them, but I'm still figuring out this live feed thing, live stream thing. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please hit a like. And I will try to do another one. Hopefully it'll be vertical. I'd love to do one of these once a week about a topic. So if you guys have any ideas for topics, drop them in the comments. And with that, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.